John is not going to be here this morning. I'm going to be the acting jack.
He's trying to start the meeting.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, let's start off with the introduction. I'm Wally Dunham. I represent Madbury. And we'll go around to my right.
I'm Marcia Gassis. I represent Barrington.
I'm sitting between Marcia and Rad. I'm Chris Parker from Dover.
Brad Nichols Coast.
At Comeau, Brookfield.
There's in New Hampshire DOT.
Paul Lockwood, New Hampshire DES. Dirk Rodenheis, Nottingham. Wade Trimble, Strafford Regional. Greg Jones, Strafford Regional Planning. Mental, Strafford Regional. Martin Rose, Strafford Regional.
Dick Clara, Strafford Regional.
Alan Barton, Strafford Regional Planning.
Now, before we leave, everybody should try to find that clipboard and sign it. If they haven't, try to sign it before you leave. Staff communications, Ellen, I think you have something.
Yes, I just want to remind everyone that the annual meeting is coming up on May 30th. It's being held at the Governor's Inn here in Rochester. Invitations went out last week, so if you plan on attending, please let me know by May 16th. And also, I want to let everyone know our summer internship. We made an offer to a student at UNH, and he should be starting May 20th.
Okay, Greg, any more communications?
No, nothing else.
Oh, are we doing that yet? No, wait.
I apologize.
Okay, now we have some action items. First, the minutes, the draft minutes from last time. We need a motion. Take a look at them and any comments, and then we'll have a motion. Ready for motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any comments? Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is the environmental justice update. Recommendations to policy committee. Melanie, I think you have something to say?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Wally. So anyway, at previous meetings, you've heard us talk about updates to our environmental justice document and the new Title VI document. And so I thought that I would start off talking about the process that got us here today. The initial environmental justice document was created in 2009 by our regional planner, Kyle Comeau, and at our Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration planning review in 2010, it was recommended that we create a standalone Title VI document. So updates were made to the environmental justice document this year, and we created a standalone Title VI document earlier this year. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about the process. So the environmental justice and Title VI documents went out for a 30-day comment period that began on April 13th and will be ending on May 16th. And what we're doing is we're soliciting comments regarding the updates of the environmental justice document and the new Title VI document. They were sent to the Dover and Rochester Public Libraries. It's on our website and in our office so that people can review them. And what we're asking the TAC committee to do is to recommend these documents to the policy committee for their approval at their May 17th meeting. And to date, we've received one comment, and what we'll plan on doing when we submit these documents to the policy committee, we'll have a separate document showing all the comments received and our responses to those. And so I'm going to talk a little first about environmental justice. There was an executive order 12898 that President Clinton signed in 1994 that requires each federal agency to make achieving environmental justice as part of its mission and identifying and addressing as appropriate disproportionately high and adverse human health or environmental effects of its programs, policies, and activities on minority and low-income populations. And what this executive order directs is that each federal agency develop a strategy to implement the plan. And some of the guiding principles that were part of that was to avoid, minimize, or mitigate disproportionately high and adverse human health and environmental effects, including social and economic, on minority and low-income populations, and to ensure full and fair participation by all of those potentially affected, and to prevent the denial of or reduction in or significant delay in the receipt of benefits by minority and low-income populations. So there were some changes, as we discussed earlier, made to this document, and what we did was we updated the census numbers, we updated population and demographic statistics. We also created maps, and we used this as a tool that took into account the effects that projects or the decision-making process would have on low-income and minority populations. And later on in the meeting, I'm going to have Kyle come up and show you some of those maps and statistics that we updated. Now, Title VI is part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and it provides that no person in the United States shall be on the grounds of race, color, or national origin be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or otherwise subjected to discrimination under any program receiving federal financial assistance. And this is to ensure that grantees or subrecipients, such as ourselves, of federal funding, provide meaningful language access to persons who are limited English proficient. And on our website, we have a Google translator that if a person wanted to translate so that they could read and understand it, they have that ability. And also one of the future goals is to include a public involvement section on our website. We don't have that yet, but that's one of the things we're working on. And there were some compliance responsibilities or requirements of grantees and subrecipients of federal funding. One of them is that you have to provide an annual Title VI certification concerns. You have to develop a procedure for Title VI complaints, record any Title VI investigations, complaints, and lawsuits, identify and provide meaningful access to persons with limited English proficiency. We have to notify people of protection under Title VI. We also have to provide additional information upon request, promote a comprehensive public participation, and prepare and submit the Title VI program. And yearly, we need to submit a goals and accomplishment report and implementation plan. And all of those things that we have listed is what we're doing, and that included in the document. So, okay, so some people may ask, well, what's the difference between the two? Whereas Executive Order 12898 directed the agencies to make it part of their mission and identify and address these effects on low-income and minority populations. Title VI takes it a step further in that if you have to enforce compliance, then you have to, and it's also on the grounds of race, color, and national origin, cannot be excluded from participation or be denied any benefits. So it prohibits recipients of federal funding from discriminating on those items. And you have to show that you're being compliant. So I thought I'd go over some of the public outreach procedures and strategies that we're employing. Select meeting sites and times that are easily accessible. As you know, we utilize the community center quite often. It seems to work out for a lot of different people. We also go to different sites to meet with people so that we meet on their times and locations a little easier. We're collecting updated demographic information. We also maintain a demographic profile of the area, use the most current statistical information available, and also we regularly evaluate the effectiveness of our communications and public involvement efforts to make sure that we're being effective. We're also required to maintain a record of complaints received and any materials related to the investigation, final determination of corrective actions. To date, we have none. We also solicit and consider input from all groups and citizens concerned with, interested in, and or affected by transportation plans or programs. And we're continuing to maintain and update our distribution list. But also another great thing that we've really taken hold of this year in particular is the use of social media such as Facebook, Twitter, blogging, and another great thing is we have video streaming thanks to one of our commissioners and staff members at Comeau. He regularly films our meetings and other events and streams them on his website. So people that normally would not have an opportunity to come to our meetings and see what we talk about or what we are, what we're about, now have that opportunity. So thank you for that. And we also participate in other events. We've gone to Apple Harvest Day, we've gone to Newmarket Heritage Day, we've done blood drives, we've gone to senior citizens, getting that important input from a various group of citizens. And this is just a picture of some of the events. One on the left is the Senior Center. I got to go to that one. It's a lot of fun. And then you'll see there's Kyle and Matt, two of our planners at the Newmarket Heritage Festival. And we get a lot of input about transportation and how it affects things. So it's really important. And now I'm going to turn this over to Kyle to talk about some of the statistical information. You're going to just do that? Okay.
These numbers are probably really tough to see, but it's just an example if you want to see them more close up there in the document. But this is basically looking at the new census data for low-income households and minority population. So we basically wanted to collect data that's in our transit corridor, that basically goes down from Newmarket all the way up to Rochester. We could only go to the census tract for low-income households. For whatever reason, the 2000 census, we were able to go down to block level, but for we were using the American Community Survey 2006-2010 5-year projection, and they only allowed us to go down to the census tract. So that was a little different from this past, from the last one. The minority populations, we were able to go down to the block group. And each one has a total population, and then a poverty population and a minority population, and a percentage for each. So we were able to map that. So they're a little bit different than what we did in 2009. We didn't really look at the towns that were either 0 to 10. We cut those out, and we just focused on Newmarket up to Farmington. You'll notice in this map there's a big difference in Farmington because, like I said, we couldn't go down the block, and Farmington is one track level, so it's I think 1,000 or something like that. Poverty population, but that's not. It's looking at town-wide, so it's a little bit different. There's also another anomaly in Durham. There's a really heavy what they consider poverty population is over, but it's because of the college students. So that's another thing where it throws it off a little bit. The other difference is in 2009 we threw on the annual obligated project list, which was projects that were funded, and in this update we put all of the metro transportation projects on there, including visioning. We also have park and ride locations to show where projects are in accordance with these target groups. And the second map is minorities. Again, similar. We took away from the towns that were forming in our transit corridor. Same updated information. We also threw on the transportation projects as well. So they're a little different, but we tried to use the most up-to-date information that we could.
I forgot to mention within your meeting packet there's a handout on the key differences that has more detail as well about the differences. And this was just a highlight of the change on the Title VI document. As I said, it's out for review right now. It's available on our website, in the libraries, and in our office if you want to look at it in more detail, or if you want your own copies, just let me know. And so, does anybody have any questions or comments for me? Yes, Ed?
Which president signed the executive order 12898?
That was President Clinton in 1994.
Did this go through Congress, or is this primarily an executive order?
It was an executive order. Yeah, it didn't go through Congress. It was an order. It was sent in a memorandum to
So Title VI is a congressional act, but the executive order is
Yeah,
not.
that's different.
Thank
So
you.
that's another difference.
Title VI is part of the Civil Rights Act.
Yes, it
People are-
is. It is, it's a civil right, yeah, it's part of civil rights, 1960.
Technically, it's not part of it. It was in addition to it,
It is.
per executive order. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Just a reminder, the comment period is open until 5 p.m. May 16th. So if you have anything you wish to comment on or see anything that you have questions about, please, here's my contact information, my phone number. All right, thank you.
Okay, we need motions on these two items to recommend to the policy committee. We'll take them separately. Item 3.2, environmental justice update. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Ready to vote? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, we'll take the next item, Title VI. Again, we need a motion to recommend to the policy committee.
So moved.
Second?
Here.
Okay, motion second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So both of those passed with one negative vote. Let's see, now in discussion items, public participation plan update. Melvin, I think you're going to talk on that?
Yes, earlier, last month, we had said that the public participation plan would be going out for public comment period starting in May. However, we're going to be doing a major reformatting of the document, so that will not be happening as we had stated. We'll actually be sending that out for the public comment period at the end of August, the last week in August, I believe, and it'll be up for voting at our October CAC and policy meeting.
Any reaction, comments? Okay.
I do have a comment.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I just had a suggestion. During the listening sessions, could you add that to, you know, the agenda for the listening sessions? That way, you already have public participation for the Granite State Future. You could just add on what the group feels about environmental justice, and then you can get more comments on it.
So you want a thing on the agenda to say listening?
During the New Hampshire listening scenario, you could add that in order to get more public participation. That way, you're not relying on just your social media. You're also relying on every avenue that you have when you're dealing with the public. Just a suggestion.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to the next item, National Highway Systems Update. I think, Dan, you're going to do something?
Yes, thank you, Bob. We want to give you an update about a statewide effort that's going on in coordination with the Regional Planning Commission, DOT, Federal Highway Administration. We're basically looking at, we get charged, speaking for our region in particular, we're basically looking at our region's national highway system and seeing if there are going to be any updates to it. Now, for those of you that may not know what the National Highway System is, it's basically a network of roadways that are important to the nation's economy, defense, just mobility in general. Just provide mobility to major ports, road connectors, things like that. So, look forward to This is a quick look at the national highway system as it stands in our region right now. Let's see it that great, but it's basically Route 16, 125, New Hampshire 4, sorry, that's New Hampshire 9 for some sort, and then US 4, east-west. So basically there are new census urbanized areas too that roll into this, or factoring into this, I should say. Actually, let me back up. There are two parts to this. There's a National Highway System update, and there's a functional class update. So the National Highway System, we really don't see there being any major updates, maybe little roadways here and there, if any at all. DOT might know this, yeah. We're just starting to get the ball rolling, starting to dive into this. So I know DOT is a little more up on what federal highway is looking for. So
Yeah, but I'll jump in. Maybe I'll try to explain.
Sure, yeah.
Correct me when I get off base.
Okay, yep.
Every 10 years after census, we do a couple of different things that are mandated by the DOT. One is we define new urban areas based on the census. And we have these federal highway boundaries, which is kind of the census areas, urban areas, where we kind of smooth them out for transportation purposes, for planning purposes. And with that smoothing, the next thing we do is we update our functional class system. And the functional class system is the federal highway classification of a roadway, how it's being used. It's classifying roadways. It basically breaks it up to two different areas. One is mobility, is getting from place point A to point B, and the other end of the spectrum is kind of access. How do you access land or areas? So based on the use of the road through mobility and access, it's given a different function class. So we update that every year. Under map 21, then we have the national highway system, which is basically what Dan said, is this way of the assuring that we have mobility within the region. And these are reported and approved by federal highway. Under map 21, they expanded the NHS system by saying anything that's considered a principal arterial in the functional class system is now automatically NHS. So with that mandate, we not significantly, but we did add quite a few miles of NHS to the New Hampshire system. And so the best we've done is we've taken our best shot at redoing the function class DOT, and also just redefining the national highway system. And then we put it out to review by the RPCs to look at it and make any kind of corrections. And that's where we are today. And I think you guys look at that and sometimes
Yeah, so I basically just started, I made some simple maps showing the data that you guys put together, the shapefile, GIS data. And you guys have proposed changes. We're basically charged with looking at those recommendations, see if we agree or disagree. There are certain thresholds for these changes to certain roadways to be classified as a functional class or part of the national highway system. They need to have a certain amount of BMT or a certain length.
Yeah, there is criteria there, Dan.
Yeah.
It's only guidelines. It's really all about mobility and access. And it's tough not to think in traffic volumes. That's not a fixed requirement. There is no say this is greater than. It's almost an art form of how the transportation system works. And the reason I want to back up a little bit. The reason the NHS is being expanded is under map 21, they're actually requiring performance measures on the NHS system, saying that when you do a project or you're looking at so many poor bridge decks, you only have so many miles of poor roads in there. So there are being mandates of performance measures on the NHS system that we need to meet. So it's kind of there's not a gotcha, but they're expanding it, but they want to make sure that it stays in good condition, so traffic can move across the country. So we're not limiting transportation freight.
When they determine that it's not up to standard, who pays to bring it up to standard?
What we do is basically how we do our project selection, and we start to look at where we spend our money and how we spend our money.
So you just put it into a 10-year plan.
And basically a 10-year plan. These performance measures we talked about, I haven't been defined yet. Map 21 came out, they gave Federal Highway 18 months to come up with what they want to see for performance measures, and then DOT and the RPC will have 18 months basically to come up with how we're going to meet those performance and how we're going to measure against those performance measures. So it's still being played out, but they just want to make sure that we have a good national transportation system we can count on. So the bottom line is.
Any other comments about this item, national highway?
I just wanted to, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I guess my only concern, and I'm just diving into this as you can tell, I have to step in there and help me out, thank you for that, but I guess our only concern is when DOT goes to the next step or some future step and update urban compact zones, I don't even know if that's on your radar or not, but these functional class changes, I guess we just want to make sure that we're not making changes that are going to lead to more maintenance responsibilities on local communities. I guess that's one concern floating around.
It's a great question, Dan. But functional class has nothing to do with ownership or maintenance responsibility. When we talk about compact road, it's more of a state legislative process, class 4. The function class is basically a federal classification. And really, one is ownership and how ownership of the roadway and classification. The other is really how the roadway is functioning within a transportation system. The two different purposes, they are separated.
So you won't be using, say, if we change a functional class from a rural to an urban functional class, you won't be looking at those new urban classes and considering that to be part of the new urban compact area.
We get this discussion offline. Urban areas and urban compact are, again, two different entities. They don't overlap. There's no overlap between those two concepts.
Okay.
One state, one federal.
Great.
Could you talk about how this relates to the Census Bureau and the discussion you had with them?
Yeah, so that was one of our bigger concerns going into this was how the urban area smoothing portion of this might affect our urbanized area, our designation as an MPO, possible future joinings of our urbanized area in Portsmouth and consequently maybe Boston, but we've talked with the Census Bureau and Lee, and that's not the case. So that's another concern that's been squashed.
Correct. The smoothing area for the federal highway smoothing area, we work at Federal Highway. We can't figure out why we're doing it yet. It's really, I think, for transportation purposes, to be able to look at areas that may grow in the future or have potential for urbanized area, but it's only for transportation use. It has nothing to do with the DMZ, the UMZ. Again, you're separated. It's really more a transportation type related thing. So it doesn't have any impact on funding, it doesn't have any impact on anything. It's just more planning type of boundary smoothing.
Yeah, that's what the Census Bureau told us to do.
Yeah, okay, so we don't, we struggle with that one. We don't, and if you folks aren't using it for planning purposes, we're doing best. We're kind of smoothing it, just like when you kind of smooth it, because the census does it based on an algorithm in the computer. And we kind of smooth it out so it doesn't cut a road in half or cut a community in half. We kind of smooth it out to like an intersection, or so it's not cutting neighborhoods in half or roads in half. We'll go right down the middle of a road. We put it on one side of the road or the other, just to kind of smooth it out in terms of the transportation system, but we don't really do too much past that right now.
Can you just clarify for me, like the yellow coloring?
Sure, that's the urbanized area.
Because I think the overlap for me is in the Barrington portion. That's kind of towards the Vermont end, which also had lumped us in, I think, as part of that MS4 in that area. We get an exemption. I don't know that you could call that into Barrington urbanized, but
The Census Bureau calls it urbanized. Somehow it met their criteria for being an urbanized area.
And that smoothing I talked about.
because that smoothing, you get
One of the criteria is that we can't go smaller, we only go larger. And once the Census Bureau set that boundary, it can't be touched. We're not going to move it. But we can expand larger, smoother, but we can't make it smaller. That's one of the criteria we have.
Anything else on this item? Oh, go ahead.
So this is just based on functional class for roadway. When you say mobility, we're talking about vehicles. And this is a regional sense, but at the community level, how are we dealing with mobility within that community of other modes of transportation other than just that vehicle? So we've got a functional class of a roadway going through a community, but that's for really connection outside that activity. And functional class defines really the parameters of that roadway coming through that community. And there should be some flexibility to incorporate other modes within that community, whether it's bike, ped, or anything else. So that's one of the concerns I have with functional class. Just want to bring that up as a point. I think in a smaller community, it should be land use based versus functional class.
Anything else?
Well, yeah, I guess just to close up, we'll be, certainly be getting more versed with this and dive into the data a little bit more. And we'll have some recommendations for TAC and more information, try to get some feedback and see if you agree with what DOT proposed, what we're proposing.
Okay, we'll go on to the next item, project updates. Wayne, I think you have something?
Sure. The staff has just finished up through April 29th through yesterday, the second, biannual, coast passenger survey, getting feedback from the public on the transit system in the region. Second, May 17th, there'll be a Seacoast Bike Walk to Work Day, annual event going on. It's ride your bike, transit, walk, carpool to work. There will be commuter breakfasts around the region in Dover, Durham, Lee, Newmarket. There's a link to our website, to the Seacoast Bikes website on our Strafford regional website. And if folks want to sign up online, I've been advertising around the communities, putting up flyers, and the local channels in Dover and Durham will be playing it on their public access channel as well. So if you want more information, you can go to seacoastbikes.org, and again, there's a link to on our website to the event.
Good morning, everyone. We are going to be starting our traffic count program soon. We're going to have our intern probably in the month sometime. I think 20 So we started our request counts in Durham. We've got a number of them for pre-work communities. So there's 4 up in Durham right now that we're going to be picking up this afternoon. And we should be starting our New Hampshire DOT campus sometime during May. We've also got the new traffic count protocol that's in draft form right now. So we're going to get that prepared for the interns when they get here so they have a running start. Other than that, we are queued to start our culvert assessment program for the summer. We met with Durham Public Works Department, we met with Nottingham Highway Department, and we are scheduled to meet with Newmarket as well. So I anticipate starting that around the same time as we do our accounts. And then other than that, the access management layer is actually going to be moving further along, meeting with District 3 traffic engineer Kevin Russell sometime this morning, hopefully, to go out and work through some methodology for docking site distance on some of the commercial industrial sites on major commute corridors. And other than that, we're just continuing to build our programs.
Are there any other project updates?
Yep, I got a couple. Last weekend I went down to Concord. Some representatives from UNH Wildcat Transit and Town of Lee talked about the Weed Parker ride that we were working with DOT on. This is part of the record of decision for the Little Bay Bridges, some mitigation action to offset some of the environmental impacts that the Little Bay Bridge project is going to have. This project's been through
few iterations. There's been a number of locations looked into, but most recently Dan and I looked into basically this location over here, as part of the Calioris property in Lee. We have Route 125 running north-south here, and you can just kind of see Route 4 at the bottom here. The traffic service would be right down here. There's an existing access road off Route 4 going up to Walgreens. Eventually, it's supposed to continue through and then connect up with the other access road by the Wentworth Governor's facility. Right now, New Hampshire DOT is in negotiation with the Calioris family to acquire this piece of property right out here. I think it's going to be about a 75 to 80 spot park and ride. Is what they've planned so far. Our meeting went pretty well. They've put in provisions for transit buses to turn around in there, a safe drop-off location for pedestrians and people using the park and ride. And we're pretty happy with how things seem to be going right now. Not a whole lot more at this point. I think the next step for New Hampshire DOT is working with the family to acquire the land, and also working with Wentworth Douglas to ensure that there is public access along this little access road over here. That's about it. Are there any questions about this park and ride? I can do my best, but it's in very preliminary stages.
How's the timing with the Lee Traffic Circle work?
The Lee Traffic Circle is scheduled to begin this summer or next summer. This project, how to use CMAC funding, congestion mitigation, air quality funding. New Hampshire DOT will be applying for that in the next round, which should be coming up this summer, fall is what we've been told. Pretty sure that it will be funded because it is part of the restricted decision. I think it's a really good location for the park and ride, but it looks like 2015 is probably the earliest that construction on this park and ride will start.
So that would be after the...
I think it'd be after the circle is completed, or probably a year after the circle is completed. Unfortunately, they couldn't kind of sync them up and get economies of scale involved and make it a little bit cheaper. But I think it's a pretty good location. We talked a little bit about the security options there. It's kind of set back from the road. There may be some concerns with the lot. The other park and ride, I just wanted to give an update. There's a request from the policy committee to provide an update about the Rochester park and ride, why the cost went up so significantly. We got some information from Ron Grandmason, the project manager, about the park and ride and the cost increase. Cost increase is primarily due to much more there's a lot more wetlands work that they're going to have to do on this park and ride than they typically do with a transportation project. So there's 3 different phases. The area is a little bit wet, so they have to do a little bit more than they usually do, which boosts the cost quite a bit. The other issue they're having is getting access to the property. They need to negotiate with the landowner to gain those access rights to start constructing the park and ride. I think that escalated the cost a little bit more. So this park and ride is coming in at this point, I think around $2 million total for the right-of-way acquisition, acquiring the land, and for constructing the park and ride. One of the concerns I have about this park and ride right now, I went up, zipped up and took a look at it the other day, just the location, and there's actually a pretty big mound right here, and it is incredibly difficult to see traffic coming eastbound on 202. So when you're pulling out, I think there's going to have to be a little bit of road work in that area, just to make sure there's appropriate site distance. The road buses using this facility, we want to make sure that they can get in and out safely. So that's one of the concerns that I have about it, but we're excited about getting a park and ride. Once again, this is off exit 13 on Route 202,
just beyond the Lowe's on the right-hand side of the road, actually. And so that's it for park and rides for me, unless anybody has any questions about these facilities. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We are continuing to work on a park and ride study collaboratively with Southwest Regional Planning Commission and Central New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission. That grant's coming to a close pretty soon. We're making good progress on the toolkit portion of it, which is basically guidance for communities and private organizations that might be interested in establishing a formal or informal park and ride within their community, or they think that there's a location that would benefit from having a park and ride. It's really a step-by-step guidance from the origination of the idea, whether it's somebody in the community thinking that this needs to happen, then how to move that project forward through getting your funding, through construction, and understanding really how, when you're designing a parking lot, what are the features that are used, what are the locations that are most appropriate for a park and ride facility, how does it tie into the greater transportation system, what efficiencies can be gained from having transit, and those types of ideas. So it's a pretty comprehensive guide. There's a lot of tools in there, checklists, different sheets that you can use to analyze how big does our parking ride need to be, what are the limiting factors for a parking ride, how much demand is there going to be. So there's quite a bit that's going into this study, and it's going along pretty well. We're wrapping up the toolkit section of it, and we'll be reporting out hopefully before the end of June. Okay.
So are you saying the draft available in the end of June with the toolkit?
We're hoping to have a draft available by the end of June, definitely. I know the section that I'm working on is coming towards completion. We'll definitely be ready to go with our portion of it, but once again, it's a big project, so we've got to work with our partners to make sure it's all complete.
Any other project updates?
Yeah, well, I just had one more quick one. Dan and I, actually Kyle and I had a discussion with Mike Lynch, Stephanie Fraser from Durham about Wagon Hill. They were looking into a new parking lot, or somewhere to put a new parking lot to kind of expand the capacity at that park. I guess they're planning more events this summer and in the future, trying to get more public utilization of the area. Through that conversation, Durham asked us to help them with some mapping of the trail network out there to get some more exact maps of how the trails run, and then also the distances, some other information about the trail system that's out there. So then I took the opportunity a couple Tuesdays ago on a nice day. We took out our new GPS system and took it for a test run, walked the trails. I wish I had the map. I was looking for it earlier. I can't find it right now, but came back with some pretty good results. I think it's something that we want to refine a little bit, continue doing, but I think this might be a pretty interesting service that we can offer our more rural communities, get them to show them some more of the transportation benefits that we can offer for these news-paying communities that are more rural and maybe don't see as much attention from us as the larger communities. So what we're trying to do is put together some methodology and maybe a plan to go out and basically make some trail maps for communities. We can do quite a bit with these trail maps. The GPS is pretty sophisticated, so it has elevation, it has basically things in 3 dimensions. We're going to be able to show the grade of the trail, the distance of the trail, and I think it would be something that would be pretty interesting for some of the more rural communities, and it's something that we would like to offer just the region as a whole as a recreational, some information about the recreational opportunities in the region. It would be a benefit to us to have something like that on our website for the regional trail networks and how they're connected.
Okay, anything else? Other business? Let's see, Dan, did you have something?
Yeah, so one quick thing, it went around in our newsletter, but just a quick update. The Census Bureau is going to be putting on a webinar for us about the American Fact Finder. So if you've ever had any difficulties trying to hunt down or download census data, this would be a great opportunity to just get a good overviews from the Census Bureau on how to use it more efficiently and effectively. It's going to be on May 8th, next Wednesday at 10 a.m. And we can send out, I'll work with Maryland to send out a email blast to TAC data policy members if you didn't notice it in the newsletter. We'll send that link out to you. Take that right from your office, right from your home, wherever you are. It's there for you.
Any other business? Other business? Okay, we'll move on to citizen forum. Is there anybody from the public who wants to make any comments?
Just observing right now.
Okay, fine. All right. Anything else that we have missed this morning? If not, I'm going to entertain a motion for adjournment. So,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Good. Thank you.